All right, everybody, thank you so much for your patience. So as we approach to the end of Amazing Day, we honor to have a closing panel with incredible lineup, moderated by Yuki Kamimoto and Yohei Wakita. Speakers are Aya Miyaguchi, Ash Morgan, Adrian Lee, and of course, Vitalik. Everyone, please have a round of applause to welcome all the speakers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. This is a session titled Japan with Ethereum from Tech to Real. This session is designed to cover the practical topics, not only the research development, but practical topics. And we hope it will be helpful for not only for the builders, but also for people from enterprises who are looking to start something with Ethereum. After the session, there will be a time for the audience to network with the speakers, so please make the most of this opportunity. So first, I will introduce the speakers and the moderators. So moderators, Ms. Kamimoto and Mr. Wakita. Could you introduce yourself briefly?
Hello, everyone. I'm Yuki Kamimoto. I'm a CEO at N Avenue Inc. So we have been an operator of the Japanese version of CoinDesk, which is the world's largest Web3 digital asset media since 2018. And we also run one of the largest business community for enterprise dedicating into Web3. So I'm so excited to be part of here today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Yohei Wakita from Web3 Business Hub, and I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so a bit nervous, but thanks everyone to be here. And let me briefly explain about the Web3 Business Hub. And it's a community of the Web2 companies, and on monthly basis we provide a cutting-edge information about the Web3 field, and providing us what is going on in this Web3 field. And it's hosted by the two companies called Kudasai and New Economy. And Kudasai is the literally biggest community in Japan right now, that it has more than 50,000 people in total. And we put an emphasis on the education, like describing what is layer 2, how to avoid hacking, what is base sequencing, execution tickets, or something like that. And also, New Economy is the notable Web3 media in Japan. It's backed by the famous publishing company called Gentosha. So that's, yes, they're good at the Coindex Japan is so famous, and the New Economy is good at doing like podcasting. So if you have interest, I'm so happy to introduce it. Thank you.
Thank you. For speakers from the center, Aya, the president of Ethereum EF, and also Vitalik, co-founder. Also from the left and right. So left side, Adrian and also Ash from the enterprise team. So from here, I want to pass it to moderators to ask questions to speakers. So please take it from here. By the way, I'm Mitsu from EF. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to the questions. So Ash-san, do you think the improvements in Ethereum's scalability will directly impact use cases on L2, such as stablecoin payments and L1 like security tokenization? 日本語でも質問を出していただきます。イーサリアムのスケーラビリティ改善はステーブルコイン決済や証券トークン化に直結すると思いますか？また日本のように規制が比較的厳しい国でのユースケースにはどのように影響を与えると考えていますか？ Please go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Yohei. I think I'll address the L1 first, and then I can move to the L2. But the securitization piece, real-world assets in general, I think there's a big home for them on L1. There is a lot of security with L1, and I think that's the key piece that all of these financial institutions are looking at, is a secure place to store immense amounts of value. We're talking in the trillions within a 10-year timeline, if not, 10, 15 plus. I think there will be a lot of efficiency unlocked in and on the capital efficiency front. Collateralization of all of those assets is going to be a huge market in of itself. Think, banking infrastructure, financial market infrastructure at large will find a home on L1. I think the scalability of the L2 piece, we are seeing other solutions come up at the L1 layer, but we will move to, faster, quicker finality with the L2s, and with that, I think an immense ecosystem will be built around that in the payment space. So I do believe that the L2 side of things will cover most of the needs for payments on a 2+ year timeline.
So do you think that the payments should be everything on the L2?
On L2, yes, certainly. I think moving away from payments on L1, larger transactions make a lot of sense on L1. Again, securitization, real-world asset, collateralization, lending against those assets. There is an immense amount of value to be unlocked there, but payments, quicker moving payments. So fast-moving transactions will ultimately end up on L2. Slow-moving assets on L1.
Thank you.
Okay, next time moving on to our question. So I want to start with asking Aya-san the question that we have collected from the corporate members from our community. So in Japan, the potential of local DAO has been discussed for a long time, because we are in Japan, we are rich in regional resources like food, history, and everything. So, Aya-san, could you give us the hint of how to maximize regional resources using a blockchain and Web3 concept?
Yeah. So I think this DAO question is very typical, but also somehow very specific in Japan. I hear more here, and then also the culture or DAOs have developed a lot in Japan in a very unique way that we don't see anywhere else somehow. And then I think it comes from this this unique village culture that we had traditionally in Japan. And then, so I think keeping the uniqueness is great. And then I've been seeing strong potential DAOs in Japan because of that unique culture Japan already had. And then it depends on the goal of each local places, which, was supplies to me too. Like some places have goals to grow their economy, right? They're losing people, and they want to increase people who are interested in their own village. So if the goal is to really involve more people in the area, they tend to focus too much on really localizing everything there, right? But then Japan now has also a lot of opportunities, bringing in, like a lot of foreigners are visiting. So there is an opportunity for them to really use that momentum with using DAO structure. But then, like in Japan, DAO can mean anything, a lot of different things. It doesn't mean it's actually using Ethereum or blockchain technology. But if it's really about, well, I think one challenge I see is how do we not leave people behind, like a lot of senior people in the regions that, so, and then I was talking on a different panel today with Minor Wallet, Tachibana-san, and then, you know, he was explaining how you can use this my number card just as a wallet. That type of innovation is useful because then you can involve not so tech savvy people. That would be probably a challenge. But I do think that would be one way to really bring more global participants into different regions.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I forgot translating my question into Japanese first. But 地域創生と、Web3 の関係性についてあやさんにお伺いしました。はい、じゃあお願いします。
So I have, actually, I have one more question about the, as the Ethereum ecosystem expands globally, how do you see the dialogue between global regulators and the Ethereum community evolving? When connecting Ethereum with existing banking, stablecoins, and security infrastructure, what do you see as the biggest technical or regulatory challenges?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think like ultimate.
Sorry, let me translate my question in English, in Japanese. すみません、イーサリアムのエコシステムがグローバルに拡大する中で、グローバル規制当局とイーサリアムコミュニティとの対話の在り方は今後どう進化していくのでしょう。特にステーブルコインや IEO の領域についてはどんな視点を持っていますかという質問になります。Sorry.
Yeah, thank you again. I get asked that quite a bit on the calls that we have with financial institutions, global asset managers. I think my position on stablecoins is that they should be treated like cash. I don't think we should be policing, tying identity on the blockchain to these stablecoins. I believe that, you know, when it comes to redemption, you know, turning a US dollar stablecoin, for instance, back into a fiat currency, that should be where the regulators are interested in it. You know, the last 3-4 hops of that stablecoin, that is where they should be looking at in terms of, you know, proof of funds, etc. I don't think we should get incredibly complicated with respect to how we police stablecoins. So that's generally speaking my position, and I think that's what we should be pushing for. Lots of different institutions and regulators are looking to ensure that every counterparty is known, but it breaks a lot of the principles of DeFi, and I think that if we're going to find true liquidity, global liquidity, there aren't going to be any one KYC system that, you know, will rule them all. And with that in mind, I think we'll always have such different approaches from each regulator as to how they deal with stablecoins, and we should leave it like that. You know, we shouldn't be aiming for like a globalized system at that level, treating stablecoins like cash. I think, you know, that's a personal perspective, but ideally, and some of the more advanced regulators with respect to this space, without naming any, are looking at it in a similar way. And it makes life a lot easier for everyone if we view it through that lens, I think.
Thank you. Very difficult problem about this, because I don't want to be identified, so. Yeah. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay. And next I want to ask Adrian, okay, about the startups and the use cases around Ethereum are you paying the most attention to right now? 日本語で言うと、イーサリアム周辺で今最も注目しているスタートアップやユースケースについて聞きたいです。
Sure, thanks for the question. Well, in terms of like personally, and well, actually as part of the work on the founder success team, we're looking at obviously like everything across the board. And I think, you know, as Ash mentioned, there's been a lot of excitement around stablecoins. So there are, not only enterprises, but like there are some startups that are thinking about how they would integrate with that. And particularly, this touches on a lot of the regulations that come out. Whether or not they're really DeFi or not, that's another question, but there's a lot of energy there. Recently, there's been a little bit more on the AI front as well. Maybe, we can talk about that a little bit later. And finally, I think there's just a lot of excitement about doing things with real things, like real institutions or real products, objects, not necessarily RWAs, but like that's definitely a part of it as well. So it really is across the board, but we are really seeing a lot of excitement in terms of people coming back and really just trying to build, because it does feel like recently there is just a lot more tailwind behind everything. There's a lot more momentum. This may or may not have something to do with the price, but I think things move cyclically as always, and we're just happy to support that when we see it.
Yeah.
Have you found good Japan startups?
I think Japan has a lot of good startups, and I see many of my friends here with startups here in the audience and out there in the booths as well. I think Japan has a lot of talent, and there's still a lot more that we can grow together.
Great, thanks. Okay, so I have a technical question to Vitalik-san. So what challenges do you see regarding validator concentration risk in Ethereum? And what kind of role can small and mid-sized validator operators play in the ecosystem? 日本語で言いますと、イーサリアムのバリデータ集中リスクについてどういう課題感を感じていますか？また、中小規模のバリデータ運営企業がエコシステムで果たせる役割はどんなものかご意見を伺いたいです。
In preserving Ethereum's decentralization, including decentralization between like individual stakers and including geographic decentralization is something that's very important for the Ethereum network. And I think this is true at all of the different levels of the stack, right? It's true for staking, it's true for like block building, it's true for like a lot of other like functions in the network. It's also true for like Ethereum clients. And we have, I think, improved in those respects in a lot of ways. But I think one thing that's really important to watch, right, is that there's a lot of people who are interested in increasing Ethereum's throughput and decreasing like block times. And like these things are valuable from a UX point of view, but at the same time, like there are dangers in doing that, if we do that more than we can handle, right? Because like what happens is that if we like if we decrease the slot time too far, and like especially if we do that before doing like much more technical work to optimize the network, then the challenge is like a validator's ability to get revenue will be much greater if they're based in like the same data center as everyone else, and it'll be much less if they're validating from like at home or a business or like somewhere locally. And like this really could lead to like a type of like network centralization that is more difficult to reverse, right? So I think I don't think these problems are not solvable. I think these problems are solvable, but it's something that like we really need to be watching and taking care of as we as we scale and as we improve Ethereum more. But I mean, I think the quality of our like client developers and research is very good. So I think it's definitely something that we can handle.
Great, thanks.
Okay, question to Adrian again. When VCs and enterprises invest in Web3 spaces, what do you think are the most important factors to evaluate? 今、企業さんとか VC も含めてどんどんこの領域に投資を進めていくタイミングだと思うので、どういうポイントをこう投資する上で見極めていくべきかっていうところですね。
I think this touches on something that I think should be quite important for everyone, not just VCs and enterprises, but like obviously for these people, they really care about something that's long term, that's going to actually exist in 5 years, 10 years, maybe even more, 15, 20 years. I mean, I used to work in the mining industry, like physical mines, And those projects can go on for decades, right? So these are things that I think are really important, right? Number one, of course, is credible neutrality, having that 100% uptime. Some things that I think enterprise are kind of wary of sometimes is maybe vendor lock-in, counterparty risk. Ethereum brings all those things into an environment where you can actually control a lot more in that respect. Of course, it depends on how you choose to integrate or what you're trying to build, but I think Ethereum is really well positioned for that. So, from the perspective of enterprise and VCs, I think you have to think about what is your timeline and how certain are you that when you put your resources into this project or whatever it is, that it's going to last that timeline that you expect.
So I have a question for Aya-san about the community. And so the Ethereum Foundation has been fostering talent and developers worldwide. What do you think is necessary for Japan's Web3 community to move into its next growth phase? これはイーサリアムファンデーションは世界中で人材や開発者を育成していますが、日本の Web3 コミュニティが次の成長フェーズに進むために必要なことは何だと考えていますか？
I think something like today's event, we need more of this. But maybe one thing I can say, especially I'm also a Japanese person, is that a bit of more proactiveness is something we're not really good at. Japanese are not really good at. Like we tend to be a good listeners and follow the rules, but like.
You mean like coming out to these kind of events?
Yeah. But then, like when we ask, okay, who has questions in public, like we're kind of shy to say. But anyway, I think a lot of proactiveness is somewhat key because we have this permissionless culture, right? Like anyone can participate, anyone can. So it's like we're here today from EA, but it's not ours. Like it's like so. 日本語で言うとなんか自分ごと、like 自分ごととして like it's yours too. So like we're all in this together, and then so you can actually create anything. Like you can create your own new working group, or like, and then that's happening now, which is exciting. But and then you can participate in the global community, and it's like you don't have to be shy. Like you can just go ask, and no one would blame you asking. There's no stupid question, for example. So that's like.
So we should feel like the Ethereum is ourselves. I mean.
Yeah. So like don't wait for EF to tell you what to do. That's what kind of like it's important here. It's otherwise it's just not
Yeah.
Ash is not here every day, but you're here and you know about Japan, and then so you can just think on your own, like what can I do? What do I want to do in this? And who should I go talk to?
We need to host more events then.
And then this one, actually that's why I mentioned this event is really run by locals. And so yeah, I support those local events that run by locals. And then in the end, that's more sustainable.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next question is to Ash. So around the world, like Circle and Stripe, developing their own blockchains. So what do you view this trend? サークル、ストライプとかさまざまな企業が自社でブロックチェーンを開発するっていうトレンドがありますけど、それをどう見てるか聞いてみたいと思います。お願いします。
Yeah, thanks, Yuki. I think this movement somewhat has been unleashed by the Genius Act and the move to enable American corporates to move closer / corporatize this technology in a very central way. And I'm all for seeing experiments run out, but I think like we have played this out in multiple ways prior with small validator networks, just how at risk the network is. This is going to be something that they run up against and they face time and time again. The technology suite that, for instance, Circle is looking to build with and on today, Stripe with Tempo, I think we aren't there yet, but we are not far off of being able to solve their problems. So I think there's an immense amount of room for us to have adoption of other fintechs in the future, without them being required to go and build this infrastructure and networks and ultimately go through the process of decentralization. Whether they ever get there, probably not. Global finance won't be done on an American blockchain. Like that's the reality. We want, and I think the financial world, without speaking too much on their behalf, wants to see a neutral platform. This is largely speaking one of the only neutral platforms outside of Bitcoin. And I think like that will be a very relevant piece once we're talking about trillions of dollars worth of storage, worth of value stored on this network, and trillions of dollars worth of payments processed. I think trust is an interesting one once you scale the value that the system is processing and storing. And ultimately, lots of countries view the way in which the world is run today somewhat hostile in a way in which they can be ultimately debanked. Like a country can be debanked, take the idea of an individual, but a country being debanked. And I think like it's a worrying concern for many countries, taking positions that are maybe anti-American in some way, shape or form, and then finding themselves without a way in which to interact with, banks across the world and payment processing systems. So this is probably a major concern, from a risk perspective. Ethereum is, the only stable platform to conduct these transactions today. So I think we'll work the technology. It'll end up solving their problems. It's just a matter of time. We are ultimately working on it.
Thank you, Ash.
Yeah, I feel like essentially those changes are like centralized things.
Yeah, I think we will learn a lot from these chains. We will learn a lot about, they are still open. You can go build on Tempo from what they're putting out there publicly. So I think we are going to learn an immense amount from this experiment. And, ultimately L2 developers are going to be able to take all these learnings and ensure that it's encoded in this next wave. So it's great. It's a great chapter in that they are going to solve their problems, their business case, and then we can ultimately take their business case solution and build it out in and with Ethereum values encoded in the technology.
Great, thanks. And I have one more question for Aya-san. So Japan is seen as one of the most regulated and structured market globally. So what steps do you think regulators and the industry in Japan need to take to enable Japanese Web3 companies to compete globally? 世界は日本的に見ても規制が整備されてきた市場だと思いますが、今後日本の Web3 事業者が世界と戦える環境を整えるために規制当局や業界に求められる動きは何だと考えますか？
I think so. There's, we're hearing the news that the FSA is trying to shift the regulations for crypto toward more like traditional, treating crypto as more traditional financial instruments.
Yeah.
And then, which is not necessarily bad, but I always think it's that, for example, Ethereum is not just financial platform. And there are many solutions you can build on. And then, of course, when we say regulators, they're like financial regulators, like that's globally so. but it's, I think the regulators often, tend to talk to financial institutions, but maybe not enough conversation with actually like other builders, developers, and also those companies who are thinking of building things on Ethereum, not necessarily a financial solution. And so how do we have regulations? Regulations are not always bad, like it's necessary, but making sure not to block like other things to be built, or not to block builders to be able to actually build. And that's it, yeah. So for that, there needs to be more conversations with builders, between builders and the regulators.
Yeah,
I think
to be honest, I feel like the regulation is too strict here. I think so that's the one reason there are less builders around Japan.
I've been saying this for a decade, like just moving too quick toward strict regulations. It's hard to, wind it back, like reversing it's hard, like blockchain. So it's like it's better to go slower on that, is how I feel. Like some of the stuff in Japan probably happened too quick, is my honest.
Okay.
But that's my personal, like I maybe will stop here. Yeah.
Okay, so I have one more question from my side to Vitalik-san. So compared to high throughput chains like Solana or Aptos, what are the key advantages for enterprises in adapting Ethereum L1 or L2, particularly regarding security and interoperability of L2s when winding up against other L1s, as well as specialized Stripe circuits, etc., etc.? What kind of future vision do you have for interoperability between Ethereum and other blockchains?
So I think the most valuable things about Ethereum are that it's a highly decentralized and global permissionless network that is also highly secure. And Ethereum has a record of being the chain that does not go down. And the chain is always online. The chain has nodes and a community and developers everywhere around the world, all of the core dev, it is the only chain that like really properly has clients diversity. So if one client, I think if any one Ethereum client has a bug, then the chain will continue working just fine, right? And I think the important thing to understand about Ethereum's strategy, right, is that we're basically saying that the first job of an L1 is to be decentralized and to be secure. If those things break, then there's no point, and you can just go back to Google spreadsheets, right? Now, the way that we try to serve the needs of applications that need very high levels of scalability is through this concept of L2s, right? And basically, you can have, if you want a server, you can have a server, but if you have a server that publishes hashes and proofs to Ethereum in the right way, then you can give your users guarantees that whatever assets they have, they can always export them to L1 just on their own, right? No matter what you as an L2 do, no matter how, if you get hacked or you get shut down or anything, users will always be able to export their assets out and then move them somewhere else. And we've even seen already situations in real life where these escape hatch mechanisms that are part of proper L2s have actually successfully protected users in situations where all kinds of different things have happened to L2s, right? Now, I think that I mean there's even going to be room for a lot more people and institutions to launch their own L2s, and I think the really key thing in making this kind of approach work is having better interoperability, right? Which is a big part of why there's such a big focus in the EF and in the ecosystem at improving interoperability between different L2s, right? Like it should be possible for all of the existing L2s to feel like and be part of a unified Ethereum ecosystem, and for it to be very easy for people to create their own L2s and immediately become part of this network and do things within their L2 for high scalability, but then at the same time still benefit from the interoperability, liquidity, and security that come from being able to settle down to Ethereum, right? And so I think continuing to work on and continuing to improve this combination is something that Ethereum does really well, and I think we should, and we are continuing to improve and build on that.
Interesting, thank you. 質問なんだったんですけど、質問はですね、ソラナやアプトスのようなコースループットチェーンに比べてイーサリアムを採用する企業的メリットは何でしょうか。特に規制対力、開発者エコシステムのセキュリティの観点でお聞かせくださいという質問でした。
ありがとうございます。So, I want to ask you, Adrian, again. So, as the convergence of AI and IoT continues, how do you see Web3 evolving into a new form of industrial infrastructure? So, AI やIoT の融合が進んでいくっていう時代において Web3 が果たす役割とか影響を教えてください。
Yeah, so that's obviously a very hot question these days. People are always talking about AI. IoT not as much, but obviously that plays into AI as well. I think AI, two things actually pop out to me the most. I think one thing that, to me, is a little bit more interesting is PPML, privacy preserving machine learning, for example. There are things that you can do with the blockchain that helps you, do these kind of things. Some things to look into would be like zero knowledge proofs, maybe fully homomorphic encryption. These technologies enable you to do machine learning in a way on the blockchain that, or use the blockchain to help do these things in a way that perhaps previously wasn't so practical. I think maybe the more hot or sexy topic is maybe AI agents. In April, Google came out with the standard agent to agent, or A2A, and recently there's been an ERC, or ERCs or EIPs actually, ERC standard 8004, where there are a lot of people thinking about how can we create a system where we can have trusted agents on Ethereum or other, blockchain-like protocols as well, but mostly Ethereum, to be able to regulate these agents. And that ERC 8004 is an extension of the A2A standard. So these are interesting things to look into. I'm sure in a few months' time there's going to be a lot of startups that try to build on top of these things. And these are some of the questions that we deal with when we're talking to all sorts of founders and startups, and they're trying to understand more about these standards. And I think if people are able to come up with a standard, or just having that discussion about what makes a good AI agent and what allows them to deploy agents on the blockchain, maybe with IoT, these are things that are going to be really beneficial to the Ethereum ecosystem if we are able to execute on that safely and responsibly.
Yeah.
Do you think AI agents should be on L2 or L1?
Well, I think that goes back to what we were talking about before. I think Ash mentioned it depends on what the agent is doing. If the agent is doing those large, slow transactions, then where it really counts and the time is not so much an issue, then L1 always makes sense. So it's basically the same answer. If you want a lot of speed and you don't really mind having that, it's the same split basically. I think AI agents can work on both layer 1 or layer 2, just like humans can work on layer 1 or layer 2.
So one question from us to Vitalik. Most focused area of within your Ethereum's future roadmap. So イーサリアムの今後のロードマップで特に注目しているところ教えてもらいたい。
Okay. So right now, the short-term focus in Ethereum is on like improving user experience and scale. And so the gas limit has already increased this year from 30 million to 45 million. I expect it will continue increasing quite a lot over the next year or so. And to make that safe, we have a lot of EIPs that enable like faster block processing, more parallel block processing. I think like block access lists is one of the big ones. Also, a lot of work on ZK proving Ethereum blocks. So these things I think are in the short term important, and then also some things on like Fossil, which like improves like creates stronger guarantees that transactions will be able to quickly get on chain. Also like full account abstraction, EIP 7701 is something I'm excited about. And then in the longer term, there is Justin's roadmap, Lean Ethereum, right, which is this basically it's an effort to really take a first principles approach and basically ask, first ask the question, given everything that we know now, what would an ideal blockchain that's trying to satisfy the kinds of goals that Ethereum has look like? And then from there, you figure that out and even like build and even implement the different pieces, and then try to look at how do we get from where Ethereum is today to to being able to move over and become that protocol, right? And so Lean Ethereum has a lot of different pieces. Like there's the improvements to the consensus layer. I mean, this includes both some of the fast finality work, and it includes the work on making signatures quantum resistant. It includes work on formally verifying the protocol and the implementations. Also, the idea of like moving to like a faster and simpler virtual machine on the as an alternative to the EVM. And like potentially even like you can implement the EVM in that virtual machine. It is another thing that's being explored. So I think a lot of really good different things happening inside of that effort, and I'm excited to see Ethereum start moving over to that over time.
So thank you for all the questions, and also like we would like to ask. Does anyone have any questions to the speakers? Please speak up. Okay, I think we can have like one or two questions. So maybe, I think the first one, yeah, the lady here.
Let's do this quickly.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm a super beginner. My knowledge of this industry is almost zero, but I'm in the traditional industry. So from this point of view, I came here to learn. And then, sorry if I ask too easy and simple question. Okay, my question is that here, blockchain technologies, transparency and immutability make it very attractive for global supply chain, trade operation, and industry like automotive manufacturing, and especially in terms of traceability. However, in these industries, confidentiality is crucial. So pricing and contracts and supplier relationship cannot always be made public. So, and then I also learned about there are something called ZK, zero knowledge, to protect these privacy or something, but as a beginner, I really don't know how much they can protect. So, and then I also learned that there are many kinds of chains there, and then it seems that Ethereum is very attractive also for me in this aspect. So I would like to ask all of you, how do you see the collaboration, and then whether Ethereum matches this kind of traditional industry?
Thank you. Before asking speakers to answer, because the translation was stopped,ちょっと TL 意訳ですけども、ブロックチェーンが トランスペランシーが透明性が高いので、そこで機密性だったりとか、そういったものをどうやって担保することができるか、また GK のテクノロジー、関連して GK のテクノロジーについて、またそのいろんなさまざまなチェーンでどのようなチェーンが活用できるかという質問だと理解しました。Does anyone want to answer this one? Maybe.
I think because the time is limited, maybe Vitalik, you want to
Yeah,
take this?
of course.
Yeah, and I feel like there are a lot of different pieces there. In zero knowledge proofs, I think they're definitely a powerful tool, right? What they let you do is they let you make proofs that prove things about private data that you have. And so you can verify the authenticity of something. You can verify that something comes from some kind of like reliable source. I mean, like depending on how you define that, and like you can make that proof without revealing exactly like who you are exactly. Like where. I mean, like the type of information that you can protect. I mean, it depends a lot in like different contexts, right? Whether we're talking like financial or identity, or I mean, to me, like a lot of supply chain things, you can possibly view them as being like kind of similar to the identity, except instead of identity of a person, it's like identity of an object as it's like passing through the chain, right? The thing that zero knowledge proofs do not let you do is do computation that combines multiple people's private information. For that, like you need more complicated technology. And then also, I think one important nuance that's good to keep in mind is like when you need a blockchain versus when you need cryptography, right? Because a lot of these applications, they require cryptography, but they don't really require a blockchain. And then there are applications that actually require some of both, or that could benefit from both. And then there's applications where like they've been historically impossible to do on chain because they reveal too much data, but then this more recent type of cryptography actually solves that problem, and so now you can. I mean, I think for anyone interested in these problems, I would start by like just either talking to or reading the like work of like people that have already spent a lot of time in like enterprise Ethereum type of spaces. Like Paul Brody has like he's written a book on enterprise Ethereum recently. There is a lot of other people who have like looked into specific verticals and then like see like what they've done and how to improve on it. I mean, I will say throw away anything written before like maybe 5 years ago, because like zero knowledge proofs change the game like as much as AI changes the game. So like just anything like I think that is does not use zero knowledge proofs, like it just does not use like the most powerful technology, and it just will not be able to compete. So focus on like I think like people who have been around for a long time and also really understands the newer things.
Are you based in Japan? There are a lot of actually privacy ZK experts in Japan. Maybe they're in the room probably. Are you guys? Like you can find them. We can connect if you want to learn more.
Love to connect. Also, Adrian and also myself is also from ZK teams, so they're happy to like discuss anything. Thank you, Vitalik, for the answer. Sorry that we cannot cover all the questions because time is limited. But please, thank you for being proactive. Please feel free to ask a question after this session to all the speakers. But before closing this session, like we'd like to ask. There's the layer 2 members. Layer 2 teams are coming to this session, to this stage now. These are in the audience. There's many topics covered regarding the layer 2s. So we'd like to welcome the INTMAX and Base Japan and Arbitrum here. Glad if you guys can introduce yourselves, like 2 or 3 minutes for each project is possible.
はい、では、INTMAX の説明させていただきます。でですね、INTMAX は、プライバシーを、 がありながら、非常に高い効率性を持つ送金システムです。そうですね、基本的にはプライバシーをつけると送金というのは、非効率になってしまうものなんですが、INTMAXに限って言いますと、これは非常に効率的、普通の送金よりも効率的でありながらプライバシーを保つことができます。今は、1送金あたり 0.08 バイトで、なんていうか、ギネスコードがこれにレコードがこれにあればギネスレコードを取れるんじゃないかっていうぐらいのなんて言いますか、オンチェーンのミニマイゼーション、オンチェーンの効率化をしております。どういう仕組みで動いているのか、なんか10秒ぐらいで説明すると、基本的にアセットプルーフ、資産の証明みたいなものを基本的には、暗号学ブロックチェーンに作ることができるんですけども、これをブロックチェーンの外でもブロックチェーンのセキュリティを使いながら、送金者から受信者にパスしていく仕組みです。で、こうするとどんどん履歴が長くなっていって、通常はダメかって思われるところなんですが、GKP を使うと、GKP ってなんか知らずに証明できる仕組みなんですけれども、一つ前のこれ GKP がチェーンになってるんですね。で、一つ前の GKP を証明すると、すべての、GKP のチェーンが一瞬で証明できますと、なんか高校でやった数学的機能法みたいな感じですね。なんか一つ前の GKP はもう二つ前の GKP を証明しているし、二つ前の GKP はそれの前の GKP を証明しているので、これがオリジンまでいきますと、そんな感じで一回証明するとすべての送金の暗号学的なチェーンが一瞬で証明できるという非常に面白いアイデアを採用しております。で、そんな感じで、INTMAX は非常に送金を効率的にしているし、プライバシーをつけているので、基本的に全ての送金は追えなくなります。で、もし INTMAX を、一言で言うんだったら、クリプトの人に言うんだったら、そうですね、トルネードキャッシュとプラズマを混ぜたような感じです。で、かつそこにエシカルな、なんていうか、犯罪者に使われにくいような仕組みも、導入しているという形になっています。そんな感じです。で、そうですね、これからはより多くの人に、プライバシーのある送金を使ってもらいたいと思いまして、今は結構テックプロジェクトとして進んでいるんですけれども、今後はより企業様とか個人のために非常に便利なインターフェースを開発して、ほとんど普通の、今まで使っているアップと変わらないようなインターフェースを提供できるかなというふうに考えております。なので、INTMAX を使ってお金を、そうなんて言えばいいのかな、プライバシーをお金につけてください。よろしくお願いします。
プライバシーマイニングの話はいいんですか？プライバシーマイニングの話じゃなくていいんですか？いいのか。
Oh, cool. I'll just steal that. It has the word Arbitrum on it, so that'll help me a lot. You know? Hi. Oh, do I? Oh, no. I thought it was a panel, actually. I didn't realize it was a pitch. So that's why this is really funny. It asks an academic to do a pitch. So that'll be interesting. No, but maybe the way I want to start is, so I'm going to take a different approach for this. So I want to get also your engagement. So if, raise your hand if you've interacted with cryptocurrencies before. So you have like some ETH or some cryptos or whatever. Great, that's awesome. Look at this, bullish. Now here's the sad part, I guess. Raise your hand if you've ever lost money on an exchange because maybe it got hacked. Oh, look at this, there's the OGs over there. More people anticipate it. And that's really annoying, isn't it? Because like, you take your cryptos, you lock it into an exchange, you know, you want to buy and sell, make a bit of money, and then you want to withdraw your funds, and obviously you want to, then, I don't know, go buy like some sushi or something with your profit. But cryptocurrency exchanges, time and time again, keep losing our funds, and it's not their fault. It's not like they're being malice. I mean, sometimes they are malice, but they're not trying to be malice, and they're not even incompetent. Like, if you have a system that's holding billions of dollars, and you know, a single private key has access to all those funds, you have to protect that private key. You have the entire security op team around it. It's a very difficult task, even for the best security team out there. And somehow we're asking exchanges, you know, every new exchange that pops up, to build up the security infrastructure to protect billions of dollars. And that's not fair to them, it's not fair to the users, and that sucks overall. So what I'm excited for, at least for rollups and L2s and Arbitrum, and generally speaking, any of the L2s that, you know, pursue going towards stage 2, is it allows custody to become optional. I guess that's Vitalik's phrase from one of his blog posts. I really like that. Where I can lock my funds into the tech stack, into the software, And it's the software that protects my funds, it's not the humans. So I can lock my funds into the system, I can transact, I can bring the funds back to me. I've never had to trust the operator of that system. And the operator obviously doesn't then have to protect billions of dollars. It's the software and the network that protects billions of dollars. But what is nice is, though, that tech stack can give you a very similar user experience to what we have today with exchanges. So back in 2021, I made a joke that Coinbase would do an L2. I guess you work for Base, don't you? So now they are an L2, so that's even funnier, isn't it? Because when you interact with these systems, it can look and feel like an exchange, but obviously in a way where the software protects your funds and not the user. So what I'm excited for, at least for Arbitrum, is that if we can build a tech stack that works, then anyone in this room could pick up the Arbitrum tech stack, deploy it, serve your users, earn fees for that, but not have to be responsible for protecting billions of dollars. And so I'm really excited for that because that is being realized now, and hopefully in 5 years we'll see a lot more L2s. And we won't look at them as L2s. It'll be a bit like Robinhood. I'm sure you've seen the Robinhood demo. You download the app, you do a swap. In the back end, there's a tech stack that's protecting your funds. But from a user's perspective, you're just trading back and forth, and then you go buy your sushi with your profit. So I guess that's my Arbitrum pitch. So I hope we're all excited for the L2 roadmap.
Ah, 私は日本語で話してくださいと言われているので日本語で話すのでちょっとあれの切り替えを待ちたいと思います。ベースジャパンのせいやと言います。で、ちょっと待ってくださいね。今日ベースがETHTokyoにスポンサーしているんですけど、そのベースチームは全員ベースキャンプっていう彼らのそのアメリカでやってるイベントに行っているので。入りました。言っているので、ベースのオフィシャルの社員のチームは一人もいないんですね。なので、僕は正式に日本で、ベースの日本の社員は一人もいないんですけど、僕がベースジャパンの運営を全部やっているので、僕が代わりに話しに来ました。よろしくお願いします。で、ちょっとなんでしょうね、タイトルがFrom Tech to Real だから、なんだろう。現実でどう使えるかみたいな話をできればと思うんですけど、そのベースはベースアップっていうアプリを最近リリースして、なんだろうな、もちろんウォレットみたいに送金もトークンのスワップも何でもできるんだけど、ベースアップの中にはミニアップっていうのがあって、これはファーキャスターのタイムラインをまるっとインテグレートして、その中にさらにファーキャスターのフレームって言われていた、なんだろう、なんだろうな SNS の中にあるミニアプリ、アプリなんだけど、これは他のあらゆるプラットフォームのミニアプリとは違うところがあって、でこれはなんだろう、普通のウェブアプリをたった2行追加するだけでベースの中のプラットフォームにベースアップの中に埋め込むことができます。でベースアップ自体はパスキーウォレットが標準でついているので、もうミニアップにしてミニアップとしてベースアップ上で開いた時にはもうそれはパスキーウォレットがコネクトされていて、別にどのウォレットをコネクトするかとか、この拡張機能のこのウォレットだよねみたいなのを毎回やらなくても、今何がつながっているのかとか一切考えなくても、今までウェブ上で使っていたウェブアプリ、それは別にゲームかもしれないし、トークのスワップかもしれないし、わかんない、いろんなアプリがありますよね。そういうのを使うときに一切ウォレットコネクトについて全く考えなくていいっていう、プラットフォームがあります。でしかもそれは Web ベースだから簡単にインテグレートできる。僕は完全にエンジニアなんですけど、実際に2行でインテグレートできましたし、ベースのいいところはチェーン側のフラッシュブロックスの話とかコインベースのセキュリティとかいろいろありますけど、でもより多くの人に自分が作った自分が良いなと思うアイデアをオンチェーンに、ベースでもベースじゃなくてもオンチェーンに乗っけてみんなが使いやすい場所に持ってこさせるみたいなところに注力していること、これが僕は結構ベースの好きなところです。なので僕はこの4日間ずっといるのでベースについて知りたいとか、ベースアップってまだベータなんですけど、そういうの欲しいなみたいな、開発してみたいって思う人がいたら声かけてくれると嬉しいです。ありがとうございます。
That was fascinating. Thank you. Thank you for joining this session. Very sad, but we need to close this now. As I heard from Aya, that Ethereum is not owned by someone, but managed by everyone. So Ethereum is for everyone, I believe. Thank you for being proactive, and thank you for joining the session. Please, big applause to all speakers and moderators. Thank you for your session.